Hello, everyone. Coming up here on the Pro Wrestling Show. What the Pro Wrestling Show brought brings to you is the Monday Night Raw Ring Report. As we talk about, there's dissension in the air between the Hurt Business. Yes, Bobby Lashley, the WWE Champion, has a little bit problems with Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, and he kicks them out of the Hurt Business. Ooh, man, what's going on? I thought the Hurt Business was supposed to be a strong unit that stands for like a black version of the Four Horsemen. We'll talk about that. Plus, Shane McMahon continued his antics with Braun Strowman, as Braun Strowman want to get his hands on Shane so bad that he almost makes Elias and his other counterpart, I think, Jackson Riker, look like bowling pins. And we talk about the Miz and Bad Bunny for their highly anticipated match at WrestleMania, where these two square off at WrestleMania. We'll get to that. And also, what is this? Oscar and Rila Ripley had the contract signed where Rila had flipped Oscar over the table of their historic first time ever Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. And Drew McIntyre still wants a piece of Bobby Lashley when the worst way with all. Bobby Lashley seeing someone that we didn't even see in this spec that was coming there his way on Drew's way. All this and more, and then plus we'll have hot topics, wrestling hot topics, as a future Hall of Famer who known for beaming up Scotty, Captain Kirk, T.J. Hooker, and we'll get to the NXT as well, news regarding NXT with them moving to a new night. All this and more when the Pro Wrestling Show starts after this. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the Pro Wrestling Show. Presents the Raw Ring Report. I'm your host, as always, Kendrick Diggs here. Glad you can join us here on the Pro Wrestling Show for the Raw Ring Report. Join in the conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling here on Connect. And don't forget, do not forget to subscribe. Subscribe is caring. Tell a friend, call a friend, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss a thing. So subscribe so you won't miss a thing. We show pro wrestling content here on the Pro Wrestling Show. So we're back with the Raw Ring Report. We're trying to condense it down. Most of the time we'll have it, most of the time we won't. So hey, there you go. All right, let's kick off with the Raw Ring Report. The Raw Ring Report kicked off with the WWE Champion, the Almighty Bobby Lashley, being walked through with fellow Hurt Business members Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, and MVP. Well, I guess Bobby and MVP had to get something out their chest, and one way they did in the ring, all of a sudden they said that Shelton and Cedric are the weak links. Shelton and Cedric looking like what's going on. I personally, to me, this was supposed to be WWE's version of Black Four Horsemen. I don't get why WWE, who invests so much in the Hurt Business, and they won the championships. With Lashley was the U.S. champion in the beginning, and then Benjamin and Alexander was the tag team champions, and all of a sudden Lashley become world champion. You don't want nothing to do with him. Well, it was a dissension right there between the four men, and it led to Shelton Benjamin getting spit out his socks by Lashley, and then Lashley doing that move on Shelton, and then Lashley said signaling the end of the Hurt Business. I like he kicked them out of the Hurt Business. Who would do that? You're leading to momentum to WrestleMania, so you're trying to build your momentum. You're not trying to diminish your momentum. It made me think it's a sign that Lashley could lose his title at WrestleMania. Why is he calling everybody to take out, put a bounty on Drew, where he got me and himself to align himself? And it was like poor booking by the storyline team on the Raw Creative team. Poor booking. Also, Sheamus win against United States champion Riddle. Sheamus had defeated Riddle, And now Sheamus gets himself a United States Championship match at WrestleMania against Rila. So it will happen. Sheamus versus Rila. Hard mouth, smash mouth match. Riddle showing his aggression. I think that's what probably Vince wants to see how Riddle his aggression and stuff. So it's going to be real serious at WrestleMania between these two. Put it on. Also, Shane McMahon held court when he and Elias and Jackson Rigger was in the ring, and then it was just demonstrating, talking about how stupid Braun was, and saying Braun is stupid, and Braun didn't know how to spell, how to count, and all this stuff. And then Braun Strowman, the Monster Among Men, had a match against Jackson Rocker. Braun dominated. You see right here, this Bill. He just tossed the man like he was just a garbage can or something, like garbage bag. Shane McMahon tried to get involved by avoiding the distraction, but Braun saw through that. Also, Shane McMahon tried to stump and kick on Braun, trying to get at his advantage. And Braun told Shane, I have named the match. Shane said, name any match. Braun named a steel cage match. So it's going to be a steel cage match, a solid steel cage between Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon at WrestleMania. I thought it was going to be a lumberjack match, which, you deal with pirates and stuff, but a steel cage match at WrestleMania between these two. So Shane McMahon going to get beaten up like always before. Also, the Miz and John Morrison debuted a new single, "Hey Hey Hi Bunny" or something like that. It was funny, and you tell they were trying to spoof Bad Bunny and stuff, and Bad Bunny didn't like that. He brought out Damian Priest and Miz. You see right here, Miz receiving a sucker punch by Bad Bunny. Yes, Miz told Bad Bunny, "Give me all you got," and Bad Bunny did what he did, sucker punched him. And this is going to be a tense match between the two. We thought it was going to be a tag team match originally, but it didn't turn out to be that way. It turned out to be Miz and Bad Bunny, which that makes most sense because they got the feud when you think about it. But that sucker punch, Miz ain't gonna forget that. Miz gonna want to do everything he can to break down Bad Bunny the way he wants him to be broken down. Also, right here, you see right here, Lashley went against former teammate that he kicked out the group, Shelton Benjamin, and Cedric Alexander was at ringside. MVP was doing commentary. MVP was the person of the night. He was commentating. He was managing Lashley, and then he would be in the back talking. I'm like, God damn, MVP, where's Small Joe at? But we didn't know where Small Joe was at. But Lashley trying to show his dominance 2 weeks before WrestleMania when he meets Drew McIntyre for his WWE title. Lashley did the thing, did the spine buster on his former teammate, dropped him down like a bad habit. That's what you gotta do. You gotta drop down people who doing you wrong like a bad habit, or they ain't improving, they ain't doing nothing to get them to their blueprint of success. But I guess Lashley felt like Benjamin and Alexander were dead weight, and he cut the dead weight like he did and put that hurt lock on Shelton and made Shelton tap out. It's just like, why, to me, why would you break up a group like the Hurt Business who has been dominating on Raw as the elite? And you could check, the Hurt Business could have been the version of Black Excellence. Like somebody could have been, and somebody in that group. I think they didn't want to do it, but Vince probably said, "You got to do it. You got to do it." I'm thinking to myself like, and Shelton Benjamin got more clout too, and MVP and all of them. I'm like, really? Don't let Miss McMahon. And then you think Ric Flair would tell Miss McMahon, "Well, we're gonna break the Four Horsemen." No, the Four Horsemen got to stay intact. That's why the Four Horsemen worked. You had Ric Flair, and then you had Tully Blanchard, then you had Arn Anderson, then you had Lex Luger. Where where that happened, they kicked him out the group. Then Barry Windham got added into the group, and then Odie Anderson. It was like a well-oiled machine. The Hurt Business was that, a well-oiled machine of successful men, successful black men, or wrestlers that shows like representation. And WWE just They built them up, and then WWE can break them down. That's what they did with Evolution. Like they had Evolution. You think Evolution just stood? Evolution was there for years, and then they broke them up. You don't do that to the Hurt Business just because it's a black faction. I don't know why Miss McMahon do that. You want to do that New Day, and then you got them wearing rainbows and stuff. But speaking of the tag team champions, the New Day were celebrating, and then they did their own version of Hollywood Game Night, but they call it New Day Game Night, Raw Game Night, whatever. And they was just playing charades and with AJ Styles and Almas, who they'll meet at WrestleMania. I don't get why AJ and Almas is almost over 7 feet tall, and you think Almas want to play charades, and the New Day trying to play charades as well. And next thing you know, they tell about rocket ship, and you see right here, Xavier talking, and Almas like he's not impressed at all. That Almas talking to them. I don't want to see what the big guy can do. We'll see. Speaking of that, AJ was in action against Xavier Woods. And AJ and Xavier Woods, that when you think about it, they're best friends and they play video games. They got that in common. Then with the kick, and next thing you know, Almas picks up Kofi Kingston and drops him over the Thunderdome where the fans were, with the barricade, and then he decides to pick up Xavier Woods and drop him like a bad habit. So Almas wants to be a champion. AJ Styles telling Almas, "You can do it. You got to listen to me, and you got to have that blueprint." So will Almas take exception to it? Only time will tell. But it's going to be good in that. I'll tell you that. How does Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods gonna even combat Almas for real? Speaking of that, Lana, not Lana, but Naomi was in action against women's tag team champion Shayna Baszler. Naomi won with the help of Lana. So, could we see the women's tag team titles be defending the multi-woman match where teams from Raw and SmackDown could challenge for it? Only time will tell. But we'll see. Speaking of the women's division, the women's championship match, the highly much anticipated match between Asuka defending her championship against Rila Ripley. Asuka signed on the dotted line because she wants Rila Ripley. Rila Ripley wants this opportunity. She's trying to make up from last year's WrestleMania where she went against Charlotte and she lost her NXT Women's title. Rila did a heelish thing, flipped the table over Asuka, leaving Asuka, hurt. And damn, Asuka already got her teeth fixed. So Asuka trying to be careful with her teeth, as well as the women's tag team champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, along with Reginald, came out there and they issued a challenge that they want to meet Rhea Ripley and Asuka one on one, and they led them to believe that that's what they're going to do. They want that challenge. So the challenge wait on their table, and the challenge has been accepted by Rhea Ripley for herself and Asuka. So how could these two unlikely opponents who are going to compete at WrestleMania team up to go against Jackson and Baszler? Only time will tell on that. Also, Drew McIntyre asked the whole Raw locker room to step up. He was out there just stepping up and just screaming in the locker rooms like he was on, the roids, just screaming around and asking anybody. He asked Braun to challenge him. He asked Riddle to challenge him. He asked anybody in the locker room to challenge him until Ricochet stepped up. Ricochet won the opportunity and he went against Drew. Good matchup, but it was a mismatch when you ask me, like Jack versus the Beanstalk, with Ricochet being Jack and Drew being the Beanstalk. So right, Ricochet doing high flying attempts. All of a sudden, Drew hits the Claymore click, gets the 1, 2, 3, and he is set and ready for WrestleMania. Next thing you know, from behind, Mustafa Ali comes out of nowhere. Mustafa Ali, who had his group Retribution, they disbanded. And I don't know. See, I don't know why teams can't even last on Raw. I don't get it. Teams are supposed to help design to get the group over and help put two people over as few big stars. I don't get why, but you know how they go. Probably send the whole retribution back to development. Speaking of that, Mustafa Ali went up to the top. Drew at Mustafa Ali at a Claymore kick as well. And then Mustafa Ali, thanks for coming. See you later. You know how that go. But then Drew said that he wants Lashley to come out there. Any means necessary. Drew was trying to bet a peak. Next thing you know, Lashley came out there. Lashley with that I don't know, that ear or something like that. And then Lashley, all of a sudden, Baron Corbin came out there to collect. Baron Corbin hit the end of days on Drew, and he just beat up Drew until allowing Lashley, he was supposed to be a dominant champion, now a cowardly champion, trying to put the hurt line on to add more pain and pressure on him, and kept on with the rise and kept on with the pain, kept on with the pressure. And next thing you know, Lashley stands over Drew with King Corbin as a new member of the Hurt Business. I did not know King Corbin. When you think about it, King Corbin has been floundering on SmackDown, and it's been Roman's momentum. So King Corbin needed to go somewhere. So I guess they're using King Corbin since he's so hateable that if he decide align himself with Lashley, Lashley will be more hateable. But we'll see. But interesting fun fact: did you know that these three men, right here, Drew, Lashley, and King Corbin, they all were teaming up to go against the Shield, and now since all the Shield ain't on Raw no more, was one on AEW and the other two on SmackDown, Rollins and Reigns, that now they can turn their attention towards each other. And Drew has been a heavily favored babyface. He kind of reminds you of Hulk Hogan way back when. So Drew has been booked right. So I can tell you that right now. So they want Drew to have that moment like he did at WrestleMania last year. So they love international people. I'll tell you that. All right, that ends the Raw Ring report. Let's move over to pro wrestling. Let's move over to Hot Topic. All right, Hot Topics this week. We got a lot of hot topics to talk about. We just found out, as reported by USA Today, that William Shatner, the legendary actor from Star Trek, and TJ Hooker will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. He was supposed to be a celebrity inductee in 2020, but due to the pandemic, that didn't happen. So William Shatner of Star Trek fame will be the latest inductee into the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame. So William Shatner, he had made rare WWE appearances. His most notable appearance was in 1995 when William Shatner was a guest on Jerry the King Lawler's King's Court on Raw, and he had embarrassed Jerry Lawler, and Jerry Lawler got embarrassed, and then turned full circle around. Jerry Lawler inducts Shatner inducts Lawler into the Hall of Fame. So could we see that happen again with Shatner being inducted into the Hall of Fame by the King? I think so. I think that's gonna happen. But who knows? Maybe Andy Kaufman might get inducted since they always talk about him. Who knows? Well, congratulations in order to William Shatner on this honor being inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame. Also, NXT. Yes, NXT. We heard news. But it's been the rumors are true. NXT is coming to Tuesday night, starting April 13th after WrestleMania. So NXT moving to Tuesday nights. That's going to end the Wednesday Night War. So next week will be the ending of the Wednesday Night War, where AEW, when you think about one over the Wednesday, they've been winning over the weeks by week. So them having Tuesday night as their new niche works for them. And then we heard Impact Wrestling will be moving from Tuesday to Thursday nights. The VOR competition. I didn't even know they was competing with anybody else. I guess anybody that's on cable. But it really don't matter because they ain't competing. Why? Because they ain't got the ratings like NXT. NXT lost by default by AEW, so everyone has their own night, their own niche. Raw on Mondays, NXT on Tuesdays, AEW Dynamite on Wednesday, Impact on Thursday, SmackDown Friday, and Ring of Honor whenever on Saturdays or Sundays, wherever you catch it. So MLW as well on Wednesday. So it's it's a wrestling night for every night. So when you look at it, every night except Sunday, still pay per view and stuff, it's a wrestling night. So it's a business. So hey, it is that. So NXT moving to Wednesday to Tuesday nights, starting April 13th on the USA Network, and we have to see how that plays out. Also, we'll have more wrestling hot topics tomorrow when we get to the legs with RVD and a lot of others. By RVD being inducted to the Hall of Fame, we'll talk about that. So, for me being Kendrick Dick saying so long, see you next tomorrow for the Pro Wrestling Show. See you later.